Hi everybody. So if you've clicked on this video, you either just love watching me and my videos, which I thank you so much, or you are thinking about raising backyard chickens. And I am here to give you some information on that. This is part one of a series I'm going to start on raising backyard chickens. The coop's a little dirty, don't judge. Good morning, everybody. Hi. Well, hello. Good morning, chickens. Good morning. Do we have an egg this morning? No eggs. So why not video it from the chicken coop? Hi, my name is Trish, and this is my channel called Rooster Crow Farms. Not sure if we'll be able to do it from the coop because we have a loud chicken, but I'm sure that you have heard the cost of egg prices, and maybe some of you have thought about raising your own backyard chickens. So before you do that, I would like to share some information with you. Okay, so before you decide that you want to get backyard chickens, my advice to you is ask yourself why. Why do you want to raise chickens? Do you want to raise them for the eggs? Do you want to raise them for the meat? Do you want to raise them to sell, to make baby chickens? There's lots of different reasons why. Do you want to have some chickens to be able to sell the eggs to make a profit? Ah, you've come to the right place. I am here to share all my wisdom with you. Okay. Yeah, I think I might have to move. He's kind of loud. Okay. I have been raising backyard chickens, like I said, probably 12 years, on and off. I have gone from a large scale of chickens to a smaller scale. This actually is the smallest flock of chickens that I've had in this 12 years that I've been raising chickens. I have 10 chickens altogether. I have got up to as many as 40 chickens, and that is a lot of chickens. A lot of eggs. So I'll try not to snowball into a lot of stuff because this is a part one of a series of different videos. So first of all, I want you to figure out the why. Why do you want to have chickens? And then you need to have a plan. Don't just go and jump over and buy a bunch of chickens and then not know what to do. Make sure that you have a plan. A plan meaning, like I said, make sure you know why you want chickens. Research the chickens that you want. So if you live in a rural area, not in town, because some towns have rules about roosters, obviously they're loud, so make sure you know all your laws that you have and wherever that you live. I live in the country, so there's no laws as far as chickens go on 2 acres of land. I moved to the greenhouse. I'm not sure if it's going to be any quieter because they're right there, but we'll see. Anyways, like I was saying, chickens. So if you decide you want chickens, and like I said, you need to know your laws. You need to know what kinds of chickens you have. You might could have chickens, but not roosters. So remember that. Okay, so the first thing is make a plan. Okay, so where are you going to put your chickens? You have to have some sort of infrastructure in some kind of building, some kind of something to house your chickens. So that can cost money. From my experience, we lucked out and we got free fence panels. They were like the privacy fence. And I had family that built me my first chicken coop out of fence panels, privacy fence panels, and it's an 8x10 building, which could house lots of chickens. And then I had a little run beside it that I had for my chickens. So you need to have some kind of infrastructure. You need to have somewhere where they can go. Why? If you want to free range chickens, that is also wonderful. If you have the area that you can do that, where you don't have a lot of predators, and that could be predators from the neighborhood dog to bird predators, owls, hawks, to skunks, to anything that could come in and kill your chickens. So you need to be aware of that. When we first got chickens, we went to Tractor Supply and got some chickens, and I had never owned chickens before, and I had no idea what I was doing really when it came to chickens. And we did lose quite a bit of chickens from predators. So there are options, there are ways to protect your chickens from predators. Obviously, if you want to confine your chickens and not let them free range, you can confine them to like a little run. You can buy netting, or you can use chicken wire. You can do whatever and put it over top so that the chickens can't get out. You can trim their feathers, which I will show you in the next video, the process of doing that. It's simple. If you trim their wings, then they don't fly out, mostly, depending on the breed of chicken that you have. So you need to think about that. Like you can buy netting from Amazon. You can probably get it from any farm store, feed store, whatever. And then you need to decide what type of predators that you might have lurking around. There is electrical fencing that you can put around to keep the predators out as well. And if you didn't want a permanent structure, somewhere that the chickens will always be, and you want to move your chickens around, then sometimes you can get those electrical fencing that you can move, that are solar powered, that you can move around. I am not the expert on that because I've never had that. There's chicken tractors out there that you can make. If you just Google or look up on YouTube chicken tractors, there is an infinite amount of information on chicken tractors. Some that are light enough for you to just move around. Some need like a tractor, obviously, to move around. But those are some good things to think about. If you're going to have a permanent structure like I have, you need to realize that chickens stink. They smell bad. Their poop does not smell great. So you need to make sure that you have that you are cleaning out their coop regularly. What I use is pine shavings, not the fine pine shavings, because it can cause problems with the chicken's respiratory system if they're inhaling it. I use just the flakes of the pine shavings, and I've never had a problem with that. That's just me. I've never had a problem with any of my chickens using that. I also have a giant pine tree in my front yard, and I have pine needles. So a lot of times if I can't go get my pine flakes or whatever, I have used pine needles and just thrown those in there, put them in their nesting boxes, so that they smell better. So just know that if you're going to have a confined space with your chickens, that they are going to produce a lot of poop. And if the more you feed them, the more they're going to poop. So if you are doing meat birds, they're going to eat a lot and they're going to poop a lot. So just keep that in mind. So if you want like a chicken tractor, those are actually, it's something that I'm moving on to do, but I haven't, but I'm going to hopefully do this summer. But that allows the chicken to free range in the grass, eat the bugs, probably better quality eggs because they're eating better. And then you can move them around, and they're fertilizing your ground because their chicken poop is a fertilizer. And you're also allowing the chickens to eat bugs and all that sort of thing and moving them around your yard, and it doesn't smell quite as bad because you're moving them around. But with that, you got to have the space. So those are some things to think about. So first off, that is what I need you to be doing and thinking about is what type of infrastructure that you would need for your birds. Now, there are so many out there that are pretty and beautiful and extravagant, and if you can afford that and you want to do that, by all means, that is awesome. But if you're just starting out and you're doing it for the practicality of having some chickens and having some eggs and you need to get some, I mean, you don't need a large area to house 10 to 15 chickens, because if you're putting them up during the night, they're going to roost and they're all going to huddle together. And then if you have them where they go out during the day and around their little electric fenced area or a run that you've created for them, they have that area to roam around. And at night, they're going to get up into wherever they're going and roost when the sun goes down. And you can actually train your chickens. I did. I didn't train them. They just naturally knew that. Like when the sun went down, when I free ranged a whole lot when I first had them, the sun would go down and they would go into the little barn, the little shed that we created for them, and they would roost, and that's where they would be. I am blessed here where I live to not have just a whole lot of predators. I don't know why. When we first had chickens, we did have problems with dogs. The neighbor dogs would come and kill the chickens. But over the years, I would say we've had a skunk problem. We've had, what else was it that we had? A skunk problem. We've had a few that just died for unknown reasons. I've had a car run over one of my chickens before. I think one fell and broke their neck one time. So we don't really have, where I'm at, predators is not a thing. And we have hawks and they fly around. And I'm not sure why they don't come in and get my chickens. I've read and researched that if you have a lot of structures, if you have a lot of things that are kind of sticking out around where they're at, that hawks tend to not go and get them. But if they're in like a wide open area, like a field or wherever you're putting them in, they're more apt to swoop down and obviously get your chicken. So make sure you're thinking about all those things when you are deciding on where you're going to put your chickens and what you're going to build and how you're going to keep them. So keep that in mind. So there's the infrastructure. The second part of this video is going to be about feeding and the cost of keeping a chicken. We lucked out. Like I said, we got free. Well, it wasn't free. Maybe it was free. I don't remember. We got it from family, but it was probably some bartering, trading things to get it. And so our infrastructure didn't cost us just a whole bunch. But when I get my flakes, my pine shaving flakes, those are about $5, $6 a bag. And you've got to clean out your coop. I don't know, probably every 2 weeks or so I clean my nesting boxes out, but I only have 10 chickens. Now, if you had more than that, you probably would have to do it more frequently. Depending on where your chickens are roosting is where the poop's going to go. So think about that, because where I had on my old chicken coop, my first chicken coop that I had, they would roost and then they would poop right into the nesting boxes. And then that caused a bunch of, it was gross. Your eggs were all poopy and it wasn't a good situation. There's a lot of cool ideas to catching that if you're trying to be creative. But there's also ways of putting your nesting boxes where they're out and they're away from where the chickens roost. So going in blindly when we did it, I didn't think about any of those things. But now it's kind of common sense to me. Like, oh yeah, well, don't do that. So the cost of that is about $5 and $5 or $6, and you might want to, that two or three blocks of that a month or whatever, depending on how many chickens you have, or if you have resources, like I said, pine needles. If you have straw, I don't like straw. I think it molds. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of straw where I'm at. If you had a barn maybe or something like that with a floor probably would be better, or a coop with a floor. My coop is dirt floor, so the pine shavings work better for me. So there's the cost of that. And then there's the cost of electricity. Like, do you need to keep the light on? Do they have to have a heat lamp? Well, that depends on where you live. If it's cold, I live in Kentucky, it does get down to 20. It's gone down to 0 degrees, and I have nothing in my coop. I don't have a heat lamp. I don't have anything like that. Now, that being said, I have fully feathered hens and roosters. I never would think about it if I had little baby chicks. Definitely would give them some kind of a heat source. I've used heat lamps in the past. They're dangerous. Be careful, especially if you're using pine shavings. I've almost caught my shed on fire. They're not the best. They're not the safest. Let me just put it that way. But you can purchase for like $20 or $30 if you have baby chicks. You can purchase like a heating, I forget what they're called, but they go in there and they stay warm, and it's a lot safer. It's just gone out of my brain what it's called. But I digressed a little bit. So anyways, the cost of lighting, keeping them warm, housing, keeping them depends on where you live, and it depends on what type of chicken you have. If you have a chicken that is very cold hardy and very fluffy and very feathered, they're probably going to be fine. Some chickens though, if you research them, they're not cold hardy and they don't like cold, and they could possibly, have some after effects from the cold weather. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. So the cost of electricity, if you're have to keep them warm. And then you have water. Of course, you got to give them fresh water every day. That's a given. Always love fresh water. They do. Always make sure you're cleaning out their water dish every day and giving them clean water. A tip, if you live somewhere where it's cold and it freezes, guess what? You'll have to go out there and break that water. Then your hydrant, you can't use outside because it's cold. And then you have to go inside and you have to get hot water, and it's a little bit of a pain. So just remember that. Just throwing that out there. Just remember, things freeze. Now you could probably buy like a heated bowl that you plug in and all fancy, and you wouldn't have that problem. Okay, so the next and the last thing we're going to talk about today is feed. Okay, there are several different types of feeds out there. If you're lucky enough to know a farmer or somebody that has feed that they're making, and you can get it from them real cheap, that's the best economical way of feeding your chickens. If you have to go to the feed store and buy feed, it's more expensive now than it ever has been. For a 50-pound bag of crumbles, you're talking $15, $16 for a bag. Now, if you just I have 10 chickens, I don't know, that probably would last me a good while, probably 2-3 weeks, but we're getting ours currently. We got a deal on some corn or on some feed from a farmer, so we have a lot for a long time, which is a blessing. But you want to make sure that you're feeding them things that they're going to eat. Crumbles, if you have baby chicks, of course you need a starter chick food to help them grow or whatever. And if you have full-grown hens, then you're going to use crumbles, or you're going to use pellets. My chickens will not eat pellets. I think I spoiled them on the crumbles. I don't know. Pellets are a lot cheaper. I would say a lot cheaper, but probably $5 cheaper a bag for pellets. And so there's that. You can feed them scratch grain. I like to do that in the wintertime because they will get that and keep them warmer. Don't want to do it a whole lot because it's fatty and it's really not that good to do that. You can get cracked corn and mix it in with your feed crumbles to make the feed go longer, especially in the wintertime, to keep them warm. That's what I've done. I've done that before. My chickens have been fine. They haven't had any problems. You can give them treats. I mean, you could really go crazy and go more beyond what I've just said, but that you don't have to. You can feed them scraps. You can feed them scraps from your kitchen, like vegetables and strawberries and fruit. They love all that sort of thing, but you obviously don't want to do that all the time, but you can do that. You can put them in your garden once it's done and have them, eat up all the vegetables that are left or whatever you want to do. But I digress. We will get to that. So if you're thinking about backyard chickens, all these things that I just talked really fast and told you about, please look it up. Please look, please think before you just jump in, because I have stories of what happens if you do that. So if you like this video, please push the subscribe button. Please watch. Stay tuned for more backyard chicken information, and subscribe to my channel. And thanks for watching. And I hope you have a great and wonderful day. Bye.